Today on Nova Legends podcast, I have Langley coach Amanda Baker, fresh off another amazing season, leading her Lady Saxons to a 23-2 record and I believe another Liberty District Championship for second in a row. Uh, Coach is a graduate of, gotta get this, Forest Park, yeah,
hmm
where she played for the great Christy Kelly, won a state title there. Then she had a great run at Mary Washington, got to the Final Four, plus did some other great things as well and coaches in IT. I've been following her on LinkedIn, doing great things, and she's also a very enthusiastic soccer mom now. So I've been seeing her
And
videos.
basketball mom.
Oh, basketball mom too. Huh? So
Yes.
anyway, Coach, did I get most of that right?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Good to see you. So, well, look, last year when we talked, you mentioned you were a big fan of Paige Bueckers, and she's been doing so well this year in the WNBA. I didn't know whether she'd do this well, and she's like shooting over 50% from the field, just an all around game. Have you been following her, and what's your initial impression of how Paige has been doing?
I have been following her, and going into this season, you could definitely tell she worked a lot on her body. I think that was a lot of the commentary about how she put on a lot of muscle. And I think she's managed to stay very healthy. I think that extra muscle has allowed for the physicality that maybe in the past might have disrupted her. But I mean, she's just so creative, so talented, and now extremely strong and has that year of confidence under her belt. It's no surprise at all that she's doing as well as she is. And we'll go see her on Friday when they come into town.
Are you going to the game? Oh, that's
Oh, of
awesome.
course, of course.
Oh, that's great. So, I got in trouble because when I interviewed AZ and not AZ. I interviewed Tim and Katie,
hmm
and I asked them to compare Paige and Caitlin Clark. So the interview did quite well, but the comment section, why do you have to compare? Why do you have to compare? So I'm like, well, we spend hours, weeks, years talking about Jordan or LeBron. This is when women's sports have gotten here. We're spending our time just making these comparisons. This is what it's all about. This is what sports fans do. It's not logical, but this is what we do. How do you feel about that argument? Do you think it's pretty normal for us to compare great guards like Paige and Caitlin?
Yeah, I like the way you phrased it in the way that it's showing that the game is elevated to a point where people have very passionate opinions about women's basketball now, and we have players that are so well known that a lot of different people can be in the conversation. I think a while back this was pretty nuanced, and mentioning two women's basketball players, you might have had a small percentage of people who actually knew both. So now to have very recognizable players and passionate viewpoints from a huge population of people about these players, it's definitely showing the growth of the game. And I mean, it's just fun to talk about basketball in general. So any excuse to talk about basketball, and especially women's basketball, no harm there.
Exactly. Um, well, to put you in an awkward spot, who do you think is a better player between Paige and Caitlin, if either one of them is better?
I mean, they're both great, but I always lean Paige. I've been such a fan of hers for such a long time. It's hard to remove those loyalties. Like back in, she must have been a junior in high school when a friend of mine was coaching Samantha Brunel, who was playing at William Monroe, and she was on a lot of these USA teams. And so, by the connection from my friend coaching Sam, I started watching these young. I must have been like U16 at the time, and AZ was on that team, Paige was on that team, and it was immediate when I saw Paige play. I was like, "Whoa, she's something!" And it's just been ever since then.
Yeah. I think the difference is statistically, there's probably no comparison right now. Paige is the better player when you look at field goal percentage, assist to turnover ratio. Hers is incredible. It's really hard to argue that Paige is not the better player statistically. I I think for me the difference is when I see Paige play, I've seen great NBA guards play like Paige. She doesn't look that unique into me, and that I've seen players dominate the way she dominates. Caitlin's a little different in that her game is so unique. The way she shoots from so far, her passes come from interesting or improbable timing. It's just the way she plays is compelling. Not necessarily if she's the best player that ever played. How do you? I made this argument to a coworker yesterday. What do you think about that argument?
Yeah, and I think the brand of basketball that she brings coming from Iowa is so unique also. I mean, we've seen a lot of players come out of UConn. We've seen a lot of players come out of, ACC in general, just in Stanford, UCLA. Like those are no surprises, but having this star come out of Iowa from the Midwest is just different. And I do think it brings a different flavor to the game, the way she plays it. And of course, the excitement factor of seeing someone just, drop bombs from nearly half court. Like it just didn't really happen outside of Steph Curry. I do think more and more women are expanding their range, but yeah, I think there was that element of new that came with Caitlin that made it very exciting.
Exactly. Well, Coach, you seem like the type of person that can get along with everybody, but Caitlin definitely has struggled, and I'm not sure if it's all her fault. I think she's taken on the social elements have made her into more than just a basketball player, and but it seems like Paige does a much better job of getting along with players. WNBA is probably 80% or so African American. I'm not sure what it is, but it's very high percentage, and Paige seems to do a better job of that. Do you think that's just something that Paige can do, or do you think it's maybe just maybe the kind of personality Caitlin has? It's a little bit tougher for her.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know them very well as people, but I
Mhm.
do know a little bit about Paige's background just from following her for so long. And I know that her stepmother is African American. So I think there's a
Oh, I didn't know
perspective.
that.
Her younger brother is half black. So she, I think, has a perspective that it's difficult to, hold Caitlin to a similar standard or have that comparison because
Mm.
Paige's life perspective is very different. So I would say that, it's impossible to pinpoint why Caitlin maybe hasn't because there's so many factors, but I think it's pretty clear that Paige has in her heart, in her family, a unique perspective that has allowed her to, just be aware of challenges that other people face and, I think be understanding in a way that it's probably difficult for others to, have that same perspective.
No, exactly. She definitely has a gift of getting along with people. And I think you're right. Maybe her family helped her build that. Now, the WNBA, I think, is doing. I can't watch an NBA game, and I think probably, excuse me, the reason why is there's no drama in the game. It's just a bunch of three-point shooters that are unbelievable. There's just not a lot of. I don't know. I don't find it compelling as much anymore as I used to. The NBA, WNBA has got a lot of drama, and maybe in some ways that makes the game more compelling. Maybe it makes it more fun to watch. Uh, is there any truth to that statement that maybe the fact that WNBA has this drama, this edge, makes it more watchable?
I think there's a transparency with the WNBA where women are much more open to, speaking about the realities of the league and their friendships, the dynamics that come with some of the relationships in the league. So I think there's a lot less, maybe it's not media training, but they're just open. And I think on the NBA side, it's almost like too cool for school now. Like there's a media element of protection where they don't say too much, they don't look
Yeah.
too much of a side eye because they know what's going to happen. And I think the women are a little more authentic. It's also a small community, a super small community, even in the high school landscape. So everybody kind of knows everybody and kind of knows a story about someone. So I think that adds a little personal connection from the fan base, feeling like we know these people and we're part of it, even though obviously we're not. But there's that feeling that draws you in of like, yeah, I know someone. Even me quoting about Paige's family makes me feel like I know her, but I don't know her.
That's right.
So I think that connection draws more than like I'm never gonna meet LeBron James. Like I don't know him. Like
Yeah.
I'll never relate to him as a person. So I'm a little less inclined to give my attention over there.
I think it's a good point. Um, and I do think we identify with the women more. Maybe they're not quite as wealthy, maybe they're more like us, but I also think it means more to them. The league is smaller. I think
Mm-hmm.
the roster spots are more coveted. I feel like the men's game is like business. They're just business. And I mean, there are some fights and stuff in the men's game, but generally, I feel like the players are just out there playing ball, making money, and after the game, they're probably going out and partying together. Definitely don't feel that way for the girls' game. So, well, I mentioned earlier that you're a basketball and soccer mom, and you've been promoted at work or doing well at work. Do you still find the time to enjoy your coaching at Langley? Because it probably takes you away for some of the things that you're also tasked to do.
Yeah, I find so much joy in it, honestly, still. I mean, time is strapped, as you said. It's difficult to carve out the time, but it's important. It's like a big part of my identity and my happiness outside of, what my daily routine. I mean, I love my family, love my kids. I'm super devoted to them all the time. But it's important, I think, as an individual to have something that you can go to where you find your own happiness. And coaching is that thing for me. And every year, like new players kind of revitalize that. I mean, having someone like Mariah, I'm super motivated to like make sure she reaches her potential. And there will always be another. And Penny is getting dangerously close to that age too, where like she's going to be in high school before I know it. So I want to stay sharp and make sure that I'm training her, learning what I'm learning at Langley, getting her and her sister and her brother eventually ready. So yeah, I don't think I've lost any of that passion fire behind the coaching, and it's a balancing act, but figure it out. And obviously, Justin, he's super supportive and he helps me with that. So as long as we can keep that going, I don't want to stop.
Yeah, I forgot to mention your husband Justin was a great basketball player at West Springfield, and also Mary Washington too. I believe. I think he's even in the Hall of Fame
He is in
at
the
Mary
Hall of Fame.
Washington.
Yeah.
So Justin, we need to give him his due. And also, you have we don't like Duke generally, but you have an assistant coach at Langley who played at Duke, and I believe he's still helping you, isn't he, Coach?
Yeah, Clay Buckley. He went to a bunch of Final Fours at Duke, played with Christian Leitner, won a national championship. And then Bob Fall was a legendary like youth league coach in the area. He's deep in the roots of Fairfax County basketball. So I'm blessed to have two very, very strong assistant coaches for so long.
You've got a lot of basketball talent that's associated with you, Coach. Um, well, let's get to last year. We talked briefly about St. James, and we
Mm-hmm.
were talking about how some really good players had committed
Yeah.
last year, and I actually think the girls' team was much further ahead than the boys' team that was trying to build at the same time. I didn't really keep up, Coach Tamika Dudley. What's going on with that? Was it successful? It seemed like they did get a lot of good players, and are they continuing to get good players from nationally?
Sure seems that way.
Yeah.
I definitely kept my eye on some of the big names and some of them on the circuit right now. Maybe not playing under the St. James umbrella while they're doing AAU, but she's got some really top players and definitely ahead of schedule. I would say to your analysis there, like it was immediate. All of a sudden, like, oh yeah, they got some really good players and they're all signed to go somewhere. It's super interesting, and Justin and I keep an eye on that whole situation. Just everything going on to St. James because it seems like something to consider down the road potentially. If there's a reclass for my son, he's on the younger end, something like that. The St. James is an option.
Wow. So you're not dismissive of it like some public school coaches. You're pretty open-minded about different paths.
I'm open minded to whatever's best for the player. And I don't know what's best for my kids yet, so I want to be smart on any potential avenue that is available to them. So
Well,
yeah, I have strong opinions about current players and whatnot, but like when it comes to the future, I want to stay smart and know what's available.
no, exactly right. I definitely think it's a different track, so
Mhm.
it doesn't have necessarily it to be in competition. Now, you probably played against Coach Dudley, right? You guys probably are she's Prince William County as well, or no?
She went to Woodbridge. I think I might have been slightly after her,
Okay,
or maybe like a year of overlap. But like when I think of the Woodbridge players, I don't think she was on the roster when I played against Woodbridge.
but she was also a very good player too, wasn't she?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she went to Delaware. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure she went D1 and had a good career.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she was. She was too. Um, okay, is there anything new going on in the girls' game? When I talked to the the boys coaches, um, they have a lot of these team camps that are
Mm.
substituting for the fact that you'll have a certain amount of days you can work with the kids all season. Now, generally, that hasn't really affected the girls' game as much. Most of your top players they play on high level AAU teams, so they're getting plenty of reps that way. And then a lot of the other players who are really important on your roster, they might play other sports. So this
Yeah.
hasn't been a factor. The what made these rules necessary hasn't really affected the girls' game quite as much. Anyway, has there been anything new in that regard?
No, I think when we talked last year, I was kind of aloof to that situation and I remain that way. Like I know that my fall league games, I can only have a certain number of days which we play. So double headers are a little more beneficial where you can count that as like a single day. But otherwise, like we're not going to get close to that cap because we don't do team camps or anything. And you pretty much outlined my kids are engaged in other ways. So that rule does not affect me a ton.
Okay, yeah. So when you look back on last season, which was another a great season, and you've had some time to think about last season. I know you had we mentioned Mariah Armah. I
Mhm.
think Ali Glantzis was another young player. Helen Henderson and I think Lila Gul,
Mhm.
some of your top players. Tell us about last season. Some of the highs and lows of your season.
Oh goodness, it was a great year. It was Maddie and Vicky's senior year, and it was the
Hmm.
whole year was kind of this reflection of time for me because I had known Maddie since she was like 7. So for her to be a senior and coming into this year, it felt like it would never come, and all of a sudden it was there. It was very reflective, and I felt a lot of responsibility for it to be a good season. Um, the girls played great. I mean, we had tremendous runs. We played some really, really good games. uh, we fell a little short in regions, and that stung. I know the girls were really disappointed, as were we. Like we thought we'd go a little bit further, but to win the district again was huge. I think losing or having Anya graduate all those points, Peyton that big defensive presence, obviously Alice transferring. There were some unknowns coming in, and to know that we were able to pull it all together and win that again was. I mean, that was some of the most passionate coaching I've ever had. Like the play on that in that game, the fire that the girls had. I don't know that I experienced that before at Langley, and that felt really good. That it meant so much to them, and we were able to succeed in that way. So super high winning that, a little bit of a low immediately after, but that's the way the game goes sometimes.
Yeah. Only one team is going to be happy when the season's over, generally,
Yeah.
or at least completely happy. What did you learn last year as a coach? What did you learn last year that'll make you a better coach?
Scheduling matters a lot. I think it's important to make sure that you challenge yourselves in different ways. I think the year before, I really loaded up that schedule with hard competition. And this coming season, having the unknown of like, well, what are we going to look like? Not to say tentative, but I was a little less inclined to go out and hunt for big games. And I think it matters. You need to have those under your belt. You need to have your stretch games where you challenge yourself and your players in different ways, find yourselves in unique situations like time and score at end of game. We didn't have a whole lot of those reps under our belt as a unit, like that particular team going into the region tournament. And it would have served us well to have had a couple more of those. So going into this season, scheduling is really important. Being super selective about the holiday tournament that we're going to do and who's coming to our tip off, and any sort of not region assigned games. I've got to find those stretch games for us.
Yeah. We'll get to your schedule in a little bit. I want to see who's some of the games that we can look forward to. But the Liberty seemed incredibly tough last year. I saw a few games online, and I remember I live out here in Loudon, and I went to a couple Woodgrove games, and I had a good team. Yorktown beat them by 30. And I was just like, wow. And then, Washington Liberty had this great team, Buck, I believe, in his first year coaching. They had the two sisters that were really good. Liberty seemed extremely tough last year.
Yeah, I would say Yorktown, WNL for sure. Like all 4 times we played those teams were tough. It was close. It was physical. It was all the things you would want in a good matchup. The rest of the district, I think, was a bit of a different scenario, but those 2 teams were tough, and I think Yorktown again should be very good this year.
Yeah, they seem like they're always are pretty good. Um, well, let's go to your team that's coming back. The last 2 years, you've been lucky enough to get some freshmen that were helpful. Uh, 2 years ago, I believe it was Alice, and then last year it was Mariah. Oh, it was Mariah and Alice 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and then
Mm-hmm.
last year it was Lila, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Did you get lucky with freshmen again this summer so far?
I think we have some good freshmen coming in. I'm not as in tune to them because the Rising Ninth Grade League format changed quite a bit. So I
Mm,
did not get to coach the team this year, nor did any of my high school comrades here. It had to be done a different way, where an independent coach had to coach, and
interesting.
it was run through Vogues instead of like Fairfax County. So I don't have the same understanding of what's coming in. Like I've seen them, but it's totally different when you get a chance to coach them. Like I got to coach Alice and Mariah for like 10 games. And so I knew, I was like, oh yeah, this is a great situation. Here
Mm,
I've seen them, but I don't know them super well as kids yet. A couple came to my camp, so I'm pretty sure we've got some gems in there, but it's still to be determined till I get a chance to have them in the gym and work with them a little bit. But I do have a transfer, which is very unusual for us. So Cora Stevens from McLean with the zone change, she will be joining us this year, and that's been nice to have her start to play with us. She came to the live event. She worked camp for us, so I've started to get to know her a little bit, and I think that'll be a huge pickup for us to have a steady ball handler who's been doing that work for 3 years over at McLean, and she's very seasoned at the point guard position.
They changed the boundary between McLean and Langley?
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the exact lineage, but it did
Wow.
happen. And I think Longfellow, which was a feeder middle school, now we're getting some kids from there
Wow.
that we previously were not. And some neighborhoods we're getting now that I guess we previously did not.
Man, I bet some bricks were thrown at those those at those immediately. When you start changing boundaries at schools like McLean and Langley, you get the hair raised on their back. It's interesting. So, well, let's talk about um your returning players,
Mhm.
Mariah, Allie, Helena, and Lila. Did I get most of the key players right? And tell us about your players coming back.
Yeah, I would add Serena Gul into that mix. She's a rising senior. She started for us last year. She got really hot in the second half of the season from three. She's pretty knocked down from the outside. So she's coming back, a 4-year player for me. Her sister, who will be a sophomore now, brings great size. She's a very dynamic post player, and she battled a lot with Eve last year. I think that was a great year for her to get thrown right into the fire, and now she can hold her own against pretty much any post player. Helena, I think, is going to have a great season. She is a rising junior, started for us last year. She's really a glue player that did a little bit of everything. Big culture protector. She worked extremely hard. She'd scored when we need her to, but I think this year she's expanded her game in a lot of ways that it'll take her from being more of that glue role player to more of a top option for us. So I'm very, very excited to get her playing back in a Langley uniform. She's been doing AAU all summer. Allie, you mentioned, she's also a rising junior. She's a good guard, a nice complement, I think, to our outside shooting, along with Arzu, who is another rising junior. I've got a big junior class. And then Mariah, obviously, the headliner. I think she's going to explode. She had a tremendous summer. She's been really dialed in, extremely motivated, focused. I think she's going to be the best public school player, one of the best players in Northern Virginia, period. And I think it'll be seen pretty early, pretty quickly.
Yeah. So last year you mentioned to me that you were thinking about moving Mariah to the point guard. Did that actually
Mhm.
happen, or did she play the wing?
She played a little bit of point guard. I wouldn't say it was as much as I anticipated. I thought it'd be more like 60-40 with Maddie, but it was probably more like 80-20. But she got good reps there. Anytime Maddie came out, which was not very often, Mariah would run point, and then situationally, if Mariah didn't get a touch for a while or didn't get a shot, we would have her bring it up. Or if there was a good matchup, we'd have her bring it up. But I do think this year there's opportunity to make sure that ratio stays a little closer to 60-40. And I know she's been running point some this summer, so she's continuing to develop that skill set. But I'd like to use her inside now too. I think she's grown, she's stronger. She wants to score in a variety of ways, and I think adding that post element to her game is going to, make her extremely difficult to guard because it could be one possession point, one possession wing, one possession inside, and I'll be curious how defenses figure her out.
Is she getting Division One looks? When I saw her, she had Division One written all over her. Not to put too much pressure on her, but
She has interest. I don't think that she's posted anything formal at this point, but I know she's talking to some schools. I'm trying to think what conferences. I think Patriot League. There are a
okay.
couple from Patriot League. I think more are coming. It's inevitable. Like she's definitely going to be getting that recognition soon.
No, I'm sure she's she she looks like I remember when I first saw her play. I mean, physically for a freshman, I couldn't believe how developed she was, and her game is great as well. So, um, well, so your team looks like it's going to be strong, talented, but you did lose some players that have been with you for a long time. Now,
Mhm.
when you lose a what was our friend that was with you for so long? I just froze on her name that she graduated last year. She's
Oh,
playing
Anya.
when you lose Anya or Maddie,
Mhm.
how long does it take to get that chemistry back on your team, or do you find over time that your teams just kind of grow on their own and they just develop their own personality?
Yeah, I think the team bounces back and is pretty resilient pretty quickly because they are hungry to take those minutes, take that responsibility. Like they've been working for it, they want it. I think me as a coach, it's a little longer because I do develop these bonds with these kids and have known them for so long. So losing a 4-year player like an Anya, like you mentioned, Maddie, who I mentioned I've known since she was like 7, just not seeing her face takes a little bit of time once these fall workouts start. And the other element of Maddie is I trusted her with a lot. Obviously running our offense, but she usually took like our top defensive option. She took so much responsibility. It's almost difficult to express what she did for the team. So she's one in particular that is going to take me, I think, probably the first month of Green Days to adjust to like, all right, stop picturing, what would Maddie do because she's not here. And I mean, that's truly a tribute to the kids. They're so impactful to us as coaches as well. Like we lean on them, we rely on them. I think they move on much faster, and so do the kids on the team. It takes us adults a little bit longer to heal, if you will.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the positions that Mariah can play.
Mm-hmm.
So you still generally play a position type of offense, or are you moving towards a more positionless type of style of play?
I think about that a lot. And I see value in going positionless, but I think the way my mind works as a coach and the way I feel like I can get the most out of a kid is to give more structure and kind of define their role. So I'm more of a position coach. That probably makes me sound old school or not as up to speed on trends, but I think you need a floor general. I think you need someone you can trust with the ball, who knows what to do at the right time. Like, sure, you have a lot of kids who can handle the ball, but there's just a different skill set. And when you give that ownership to someone and they really embrace it, there's a different level of, responsibility that they bring to it. Same with having your interior players really understanding how to be great at something instead of being pretty good at like 5 things. It's very rare you get someone like Mariah who really could be great at 5 things. And that's a stretch for me as a coach to make sure that we bring that potential out of her. But otherwise, I think it helps the kids to give them a little bit more definition, um, how they can impact the game and what are the expectations so they understand what they're shooting for. I think sometimes positionless can be too vague, especially if you have younger players, like we have freshmen on varsity. Just saying go out and play sometimes can result in a lot of confusion. And it's my job to help, limit the amount of confusion there is. So I'm more position based.
Many years ago when I coached, even before you heard about it a lot, I didn't have positions. I just taught principles, and I was an AAU coach and summer league coach, and so I don't want to overstate my my coaching resume. But the players always wanted more structure. Mr. Brown, they wanted to know where they're going to go because a lot of times under the pressure of a game, if you give them some structure, that's like one less thing for them to really think about. And I
Mm-hmm.
was always trying to encourage them to think on their feet out there, but sometimes they just want to know where to go, so they don't have that burden on them. But it's interesting. So when you think about this team, are there some particular keys that are going to determine how successful you are this season? Are there some things that you know you're going to have to deal with, or like any team, it's just a matter of getting better every week?
I think we're going to have to become a really good zone offense team. I foresee us seeing a ton of zone defense like we did last year. Just knowing that we have a driving, basket type player like Mariah. I can only imagine that that's going to be the game plan for most folks. So we're going to have to really figure that out. Like we've had structure in the past, but I think we're going to have to give more reps to the girls in practice as opposed to here's a framework, we'll figure it out in the game. We're going to have to get good at that. So I see us investing more time there. And then I think stretching our defensive legs a little bit. For many years, we were a half court team. I think it was almost like a joke that we would really play in the half court on both ends of the floor and didn't come out. And I think this year it would be irresponsible to not let us loose a little bit more because we have the horses to do it. So I'll be curious if that changes our offensive output. I think it can help us put more points on the board than we have in previous years.
Was that the challenge against Madison? Did they pack it in the zone and encourage you to shoot outside? Is that part
No,
of it?
Madison's usually a man team. Truthfully, I haven't even watched the game because whenever we lose the last game, I don't want to see it.
Exactly.
But I think they just played their normal, solid Madison man, if I recall.
Yeah. So well, let's don't focus on it. I agree. Let's look forward to this year. What are some of the games that you're excited about? You mentioned a little bit about how much time you're putting into the schedule and how thoughtful you are about it. So what are some of the key matchups that we can look forward to?
Yeah, you guys won't look forward to our scrimmages, but we are scrimmaging Osborne Park again. We do it every year, and every year it's such a good baseline test for us right at the beginning. Like, are we as good as we think we are, or is this a building year? Because they'll humble you really quick. So we'll play them, and I think it's a great head-to-head matchup for Mariah to get to go against Peyton. It gives her a sense of, where am I compared to someone who has 20 offers. So I'm really looking forward to having that right off the bat.
I thought Peyton graduated. Oh,
No,
Peyton's back.
Rainey graduated.
Oh,
Paige is
that's right.
back from ACL injury. She'll be playing this year.
Yeah.
And then we have Gainesville coming to our tip off. I know that they'll be well coached and they have some good talent. They have some good young talent. I think some freshmen the coach was telling me about. That should be good right off the bat. But probably the most exciting game is going to be Potomac School. To get to go play against Serena Anderson, I think will be huge. Another great head-to-head matchup for Mariah to kind of gauge where she's at, for our team to see how good we are compared to they were historically ranked in the top 10 of the Washington Post before obviously we lost the staff over there. I know Crystal's a great coach, so that's one that I think will be a really good barometer for us going into district play of what are our holes, what are our weaknesses, what do we need to improve upon to make a real run this year. So I'm very excited for that game. I believe it's the 11th of December.
Yeah. What's your schedule? Last question, Coach. And as always, I appreciate your time. What's your schedule like for the rest of the summer and for the early fall? I guess August, my guess is you get away from the girls for a while, let them do their thing, and then you gradually build up with a little fall league in September.
Yeah, we'll start doing 2-a-day green days the week of August 24th, which I think is the first day of school for Fairfax County. So we'll do 2 days, and then we'll do the West Springfield Fall League again. Outside of that, yeah, it's basically 3 days a week, and then the girls supplement on their own with other things like evolution or with a trainer. So we'll get started, gosh, a few weeks here.
I know it's crazy how this summer is the fastest one ever.
It really is.
It's just like it's incredible. But and you said your kids they're in middle school this year or still elementary school?
They're still elementary. Penny's going into fourth, Izzy's second, JJ's still in daycare, so he's very young.
Wow, you got your hands full. So, well, look, Coach, I appreciate your time. Sorry about the mix-up. I was running a little late, but always great to catch up with you and hear your views. And I can't wait to see how the Lady Saxons do this year.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out, Julian. I'm always happy to talk basketball. Look forward to talking again soon.
Yeah, we will talk to you and see you soon.
Thanks, Julian.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Bye.
All right, take care.